Why do you need dad-approved marketing? Stay tuned and find out.
Welcome.
Okay, here's the question.
Serious?
How are we dark horses? You know, the ones everyone is betting against, the ones they don't expect to win, place, or even show on the track, and they'll even laugh on us when we talk about trying. How do we show the world our greatness and triumph?
Come on.
Well, that's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. This is The Dark Horse Entrepreneur. My name is Tracy Brinkman.
And push it up.
What is up? What is up? What is up, my dark horse friends and family? Welcome back to your weekly dose of Get Different Learning. I'm your dark horse host, Tracy Brinkman. And you? Well, that, my friend, is infinitely more important. You are a driven entrepreneur or business owner, or perhaps you're one in the making. Either way, you're here because you're ready to start, restart, kickstart, and just start leveling up with some great marketing, personal, or business tips and results in order to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. That's why I'm bringing you a very entertaining and awesome episode today. Today, Mike Michalowicz shares why we need to boil it down to the core, why we need dad-approved marketing, how you should align with your audience, and what random acts of kindness can do for us in our marketing. The who, what, when, where, and why. All right. Plus, I'm going to let you in a little sneak peek of our next guest, next interview episode's guest, who was all about getting their picture on the cover of the Rolling Stone. As per usual, the Dark Horse Corrals are chock full of personal, business, and marketing GOLD spilling from every corner of the Dark Horse Entrepreneur HQ. So let's get to the starting gates and go. Alrighty, my dark horse friends and family. Today's guest is Mike Motorbike. Yeah, it's going to make more sense here shortly. Mike Michalowicz. Now, Mike is the creator of Profit First, which is used by hundreds of thousands of companies across the globe to drive profit. He's the creator of Clockwork, a powerful method to make any business run on automatic. Then in his next book, these are all books, by the way, in case I didn't mention it, in Fix This Next, Mike details the strategy businesses can use to determine what to do in what order to ensure healthy, fast, permanent growth, and also to avoid those debilitating distraction. In his new book, we're going to chat about a bit this time, Get Different, and I've been reading this book and it is fire. Mike offers a proven, no bullshit method to position your business, service, or brand to get noticed, attract the best prospects, and convert those opportunities into sales. Man, that's what we're looking for, isn't it? All right, Mike, welcome to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur, brother, man. I'm glad to have you here.
Oh, Tracy, it's a joy to be with you. So thank you for having me.
I definitely appreciate that. And you're rocking the beard.
Yeah, I'm trying. Right? Listen, I'm not nearly your level. Obviously, I aspire, but I don't know if you experience this. You got to get approval at each level of growth from your wife. So at first I had just like a scruff thing and she's like, yeah, it kind of works. And I let it grow. And she's like, I kind of like it. And I got to where I am now, maybe like a 2-inch growth. And she likes it. I let it grow a little bit longer. She's like, I'm not liking it. So I said, okay.
You found that level, right?
Yeah, for now. And then I'm going to push it again. You know, you push a little bit. It's like stretching something out. You push it.
It's like practicing your skills, right?
Exactly.
My wife and I, we're avid, like, not thrift store. We go to thrift stores too, but we like going to like the swap meets and the craft fairs.
Yes.
And they have this huge one. We have this place up here in Southeast Wisconsin called Holy Hill. And it's just like it sounds like it's a church up on a hill. It's
cool.
I think it's St. Mary's Cathedral or whatever it is. And once a year they do this huge, all these vendors come up and the lions are there and the whole 9 yards. And so we were there, and as we were walking along, checking things out, and what's really cool is it goes through the woods. It's not like set in a parking lot. So it's like cut into the woods and stuff. Yeah. So it's really pretty. And there's this big dude, him easy 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
Right. Clearly a motorcycle enthusiast. And he had this beard, very long, but very trimmed and you could tell he took care of it. He just didn't let it rock. Right.
Yeah.
And she goes, you're almost there. I was like, oh, because I was admiring his beard. I mean, I was like, yeah, dude's beard is bad.
That's a badass beard. So I have a beard story, which is it ends in the opposite. So I went down to Savannah, Georgia. I went to a Savannah Bananas baseball game, which is this minor league baseball team, but they have a fanatical fan base because how much fun they have.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these extreme fans. One fan took his beard and shaped it into a banana. He said it takes over 2 hours of doing it. Like it hooks up on the side, even spray paints it a little bit. And I'm like, that is a beard. And my wife she goes, if you ever effing dare do that, I will kill you. I'm like, no. I
would never do that. He scratched it off his to-do list, right?
Yeah, no banana beard.
No, that's awesome. Right on. Okay, well, I want to, like I mentioned earlier, I want to shut my babbling mouth, and I want you to tell your story. The good, the bad, the ugly, that brought you to where you are today, and why you love doing what you do so much.
Yeah. So maybe I'll give you the quick version.
Okay.
I'll start with the today. So today I'm a business author. I've been for 15 years full time. You can see I have them strategically positioned behind me there, but
well placed.
You're right. Well placed, over the shoulder. So Profit First is my most popular book, but I've written 7 books combined. I have a new book coming out on marketing. And what I try to do is take the essence, I investigate a topic and try to actually boil it down to the essence. Mm-hmm. What makes marketing work and why does most marketing fail, and how to make it work. What makes business profitable, why most businesses aren't profitable, and how to make them permanently profitable, investigating that. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. So every book I'm writing, admittedly, it's something I don't understand when I start the journey. I still am an entrepreneur. I own a few businesses, and it's things I want to deploy in my own businesses. So my marketing book, it's called Get Different. In my marketing book, I've been researching now for about a little less than 10 years, about 7 years, what makes marketing work or not. And we've been testing in our own business, same thing with Profit First and so forth. And then kind of rewinding my history. So out of college, I thought I'd have a job, just like my father did, get one job. He worked at an oil refinery, in that capacity, manufacturing stuff. Work for an oil refinery or whatever for the rest of your life, be an engineer. But for me, I couldn't get a job out of college. So the job I did get was for a little computer store. It wasn't like a career job. And one night went out for drinks with a guy there, got a little boozed up admittedly, and thought I was doing all the hard work. Like I sell computers and sell printers. The guy in the back counts money. The owner smokes cigars. That should be me because I'm doing all the work. So in a drunken stupor, I decided to start my own business that day, that next morning, hungover. I tried to get my job back, and the guy's like, "No, kid, good luck." And he didn't mean good luck. And then I found out that a business owner does not sit in the back counting money, smoking cigars. It's more like chewing your fingernails off, panicking how to get money.
Right.
And so I thrust into entrepreneurship, and I struggled. I've lost money. I've made money. I've had the peaks and valleys. And through that journey, finally came upon a mission to help entrepreneurs in the struggle. I call it eradicating entrepreneurial poverty. It's perception where you start a business and you're rich, but the reality of struggle, no time, no money. And I commit to closing that gap for everyone that I can serve through my books.
Nice. I like that. And I have to sing the praises of this really cool bookshelf that you have placing your books on. It's a tree.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. And, I love that you said that. And I'm not surprised you noticed it. So this tree came out of the research for my newest book. So in Get Different, what I realized is most business owners, most entrepreneurs don't market effectively. What most of us do actually is the best practices. We hear, you have a pretty nice website. I'm going to copy your pretty nice website and make it pretty nicer. And we're actually replicating each other. But what I found in my research is the consumer mind, our minds, are habituated, meaning we're used to a way something presents and then we ignore it. So if you ever got an email that started off with "Hey friend," and then right? The first time I got that, I was intrigued. It's like, I have a friend call me friend. Like, who is this friend? And I was like, it's a marketing message. The second "Hey friend," I already had become habituated. I was like, I got these before. It's probably not worth reading. I looked at it a little bit. By the third one, I've never looked at it again. When we see something we've experienced in the past and it was of no value to us, our mind becomes habituated and ignores it. In fact, my understanding is about 99.999, it goes on almost infinity, of percent of things that are stimuli actually get ignored. Well, what I noticed when it came to authors, as an author, I look at other authors, I noticed they all have bookshelves behind them prominently displaying their books. I'm like, well, you got to display your books. That's how you market it. But everyone has a bookshelf, which is ignorable. What can I do that makes it not ignorable? What makes it noticeable?
Mm-hmm.
And you go to the root of different. So I found this through Etsy, a tree, and kind of play on a tree of knowledge or something like that.
Right.
But what happens is people notice it and they say something instantly. Like, oh my gosh, I saw a tree. Or if I'm doing a virtual presentation from this room, I can see the chat going on and people, they'll say, oh, interesting conversation or presentation from this guy. Did you see that tree behind him? Oh, look at those books. Oh, I have Profit First. I'm going to, I never heard of that. Someone says, and there's a conversation around it. So
yeah,
that's the essence of marketing. Be different.
That's brilliant right there. And I do want to spin off just for a moment on that I call it the white noise, right? It becomes habituated.
Yes.
It becomes that white noise. It just kind of in the background. I had one of those same experiences where I was noticing it. I caught this email and I didn't recognize the from person. Oh, okay. But it said, hey, are you still up? Okay, let me check this one out. And just like you, it's like that Hey You experience. It was an affiliate marketer trying to butcher some, send out some product. I'm like, okay, well, move on. And then I started to notice a trend of Hey Yous.
Yeah,
right behind that. It was like Hey You. And then it was your Hey You. I started noticing the, are you still up? I still got one, like 2 or 3 more today. I'm like, okay, someone out there gave some class saying, here's a great headline. And now everyone's using it. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's what's interesting. When it comes to effective marketing, there's actually 3 elements that come into play, and that only touched on one. And that's the reason why it's likely going to burn out or fail very quickly. It's an acronym. It's DAD. And the first D stands for differentiate. When we do something different, there's a part of our brain called the reticular formation. Its job is to basically open up inputs to our prefrontal cortex based upon 3 stimuli. Something that's an opportunity. Like if we were meeting Tracy and Mike, and I plopped down $100 or $1 million and said, hey, I'd love to talk for another hour. Do you mind if we do that? Chances are I at least have your attention because it's an opportunity. So opportunities get forwarded through. But in a marketing sense, that's very risky. That's a major investment for me. And you may say, thanks for the money. I'm out of here and I'm out. The second approach is threats. Threats actually get put through first. That's the number one priority. So if I pulled out a gun and popped that down and say, Tracy, we got to have another hour conversation, I guarantee I have your attention. Problem is you're going to punch me and break my nose. You're going to do everything to choke me out. Like it's done for me because you're going to go into the survival mode, fight or flight. So threats cause combat or combat scenarios, and you're going to lose as a marketer. So scenario 2 doesn't work. The only other way through the reticular formation to the prefrontal cortex is by doing different. When something unexpected presents itself, the reticular formation opens up because our mind then needs to consciously evaluate, is this an opportunity or is this a threat? Mm-hmm. So, if we were outside at that bazaar we were talking about earlier and, out in the wooded part and all of a sudden seeing squiggles in the grass, both of us will take a jump back without even consciously thinking about it because our reticular formation just opened up and said, there's something going on here that I don't know what it is. We go into a flight response first because priorities are threats. It could be a snake squiggling by, jump back, or maybe someone has turned on the hose and the going back and forth. Right. We will jump back and then we'll pay total attention to it. Then you'll have that cognitive processing saying, it's just a hose. So what we need to do with those emails or in any marketing is first be different. So are you up? If you don't get those emails, you're like, whoa, am I up? Who is this? What is this? It's invoking curiosity. Right. There's then cognitive consideration. Where they lost out is the next 2 parts. There's attract and differentiate. So attract and direct. So stage 1, differentiate to get noticed, but it must be attractive, meaning it must be compelling. Meaning you have to be feeling that you're being served in some capacity by consuming this. So that could be entertaining. It could be, are you up? And it could be someone saying, I'm wide awake, can't sleep. I don't think I've slept for 3 days. Crazy story if you're interested. And you may get engaged in that story. Mm-hmm. Commercials do this. If you watch the Super Bowl, they try to do storytelling, usually humor-based storytelling to keep us engaged and keep on watching the story. Right. But marketing can also be pain-oriented, saying, are you up? If you're reading this, you may have insomnia like I do. If you suffer from insomnia, I found something that serves me. I'd love to share it with you. The last component is then direct. And direct is to give the prospect a specific action to take. But here's the key. It needs to be reasonable and safe. So that email starts off with, are you awake? And then it says, emailing you because I'm a sufferer of insomnia. I'm literally up right now. And maybe you are too. If you have insomnia, I found a solution for this. But the direct shouldn't be buy our pills for $100.
Right.
It's too big of an ask. It's not a safe transaction. So I need to take these incremental steps to getting to final transaction. So I could say, if you like, I can send you a free report of 10 ways to reduce insomnia. One of them is by using our pills, but there's also 9 other natural ways or something that you can tackle this. With your permission, I'd love to send this report to you and then give you more information if you so desire.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a way that something like that could be effective. Differentiate, attract, and then direct.
I like it. Dad. The dad framework. I'm a dad. I'm a dad.
Yeah. And you can use that. Exactly. You can look at any marketing and say, hey, does dad approve? Which for dads, you get it. And for some kids, it's kind of creepy. But but anything you look at, and you'll see a lot of marketing, like Super Bowl ads, is not dad approved. They differentiate because they're funny, cool, unique. They're attractive because they tell funny stories or interesting stories, but they don't direct. The commercial ends with nothing. It's like, could you imagine if Budweiser at the end said, click this link or scan this code on your screen right now, or go to this website and give us your email address, and we'll give you a 6-pack for free or half off, so you can sample the new Budweiser flavors. Now they give us a specific action. Budweiser could get hundreds of thousands of emails in one commercial. Yeah. What they do? Nothing. And I think that's a big lost opportunity that we should not replicate as small business.
Crickets. And I think that's old school marketing being replicated. Like you were mentioning earlier, it's just commercials have been so long doing the same thing. I want to spin off real quick because you mentioned in the direct piece, hey, one of the things you could do is, hey, I got this great report. Here's 10 ways to X, whatever X is. And in your example was the insomnia. Do you think reports are still seeing the same kind of activity that they used to? I created my first report, just in full knowledge, you see the gray in the beard, in 1995, right? So way back. So I've been in the report game, and I'm seeing videos obviously getting a lot more play. Yeah. You think that's getting a lot more action than, a better click-through rate, so to speak, than
it's a great question. And the only way to answer that is with statistical information. So I think there's a general response saying reports are less effective, videos are more. But I think that's a generalist response. I think what we need to do is look at the community we're targeting. Say you only target someone that is a geriatric who's 90 or older. A printed report may be wildly effective. It harkens to how they experienced consumer information before. So maybe an elder care report or future planning or whatever it is, generational planning, estate planning, a report may be the way to go. Mm-hmm. But now if I'm selling to a 20-year-old, a report, they're so habituated to, they've seen all the reports. It harkens back to writing school reports. I'm not paying attention to a report.
Yeah.
I want a video that I can consume in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So as I was doing my research for writing this book, what I found is that we have to identify the community and do something that is different, meaning it gets our attention, but also is attractive. A report speaks to a certain community when it doesn't another community. So we have to consider, is it different enough to get noticed, but is also compelling? I'll give you another example. We can do things that are different, but repelling. So say there's like an attorney looking to win a major case or putting down the closing arguments. It's the defense attorney. And he walks in front of the jury in a clown costume. And, he's got the big floppy shoes and the squirting rose. Like, he will get attention from the jury. They're going to pay attention, but they're going to be like, who's this clown? Like,
literally.
Yeah, it is not attractive.
Right.
So you have to do the right balance. And that's why you'll notice, I used to work in that space to some degree. I'm not an attorney, but used to work in that space on the computer side and saw that defense attorneys often wear outfits that seem a little bit more outrageous. They wear brightly patterned, bold colors. Maybe they'll wear, instead of a belt, they'll have suspenders that are really prominent ornamentation. That's actually a technique. It garners attention, but done professionally, it retains attention longer because it's different than, the frumpy government employee with the oversized suit. So it garners attention, but they have to walk the fringe without being so outrageous that it's repelling.
Yeah, that's a good point. Those are great points. And I think that comes back to some of the copy me, copy you environment we see a lot especially in the online marketing, right? Where I think some of the newbies are coming in, they're signing up with X funnels this or
totally
Groove X this, you know what I'm talking about? And they're following the formula. because they don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
They're going in there and they're saying, here's what you need to do. Follow my blueprint, and I'll even give you templates, knowing full well they're supposed to, modify them, but they're just going out there saying, here's the thing, and burning out emails and burning out visuals. And next thing you know, they're like, why am I not making any money?
I know. So there's this concept of best practices, but really best practices and when it comes to marketing, can be saturation. In my industry, the best practice is send an email every 2 days and have the subject line say, are you still up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have the same community being hit by the same message in the same pattern. They become habituated, saturated with information. And the best thing to do, of course, is to break out of it. But there's an interesting, compelling reason not to change, to do the best practices, is simply fear.
You're now listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
It's safe to do what I'm told to do. It's safe to call in the lines. The second I do something different, what if it fails? What if people make fun of me? There's a lot of this kind of Neanderthal rooted fear that ruminates throughout us, and we don't take action. So here's the great irony, Tracy, is that we want to stand out without standing out. We want to be different without having to differentiate. We want to be noticeable by being unnoticeable. There's this kind of bipolar thing going on. What I've been telling people, if you want to build your marketing muscle around different, simply do random acts of kindness, because there's no marketing expectation. Do something for someone without them ever discovering you, and for them to have a joyful experience. Pay someone's marketing meter without them knowing, or leave a kind note for someone, or a flower on someone's stoop and never let them discover you. Just pay for the person in line behind you and take off before they can say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What that does is, first of all, it builds this internal joy. And I've been doing stuff like this regularly now. And it's just, my gosh, it feels so good to do stuff without being noticed. But secondly, it starts building that muscle, saying like, oh my God, the world doesn't stop when I do something different. Because most people don't do random acts of kindness. And when you do, it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm not getting booed off stage or something like that. And it starts dipping your toe in the water. It's a great way to start building that different muscle before you actually go out there and deploy it in your direct marketing.
I love that. I'm a big fan of the random acts of kindness. Post COVID, I was probably the guy that may have paid for your coffee at the drive-through, right? So, all of a sudden you get up there and you're like, oh, it's already paid for. You're like, well, I'm already gone, right? I'm 3 blocks away, and it just leaves that joy inside you. And actually, I took it one step further when I was between roles and looking for a new role in my corporate career. I would go out to whatever the regional coffee shop was and get like $5 cards. And whoever interviewed me, they received a card from me saying, thank you. You always send that follow-up note. Hey, thank you for your time. I'm interested in the role. I just send the follow-up notes. Hey, thank you for your time. I know it's got to be crazy. I've been on the other side of the desk. Here, have a coffee on me. Prep yourself for the next batch of interviews. And you hear the greatest things, whether you get the job or not. You just feel good about, I'm giving back. They gave me some time. It's good to go.
Now, yeah, I agree 100%. And that, I would say then, the highest level of kindness that any business owner can do, yourself, myself, is if we believe that what we offer is superior to the alternatives in all capacities or some capacity. So if I respond faster and that's better for my customers, if I do better quality work, if I care more, many small business owners, I would say, run circles around the large competitors simply because we care more. We're directly involved. The customer means more to us, and therefore we give them more. If you qualify for any of those better elements, then we have a responsibility to market, because that's the ultimate form of kindness. Could you imagine we don't market ourselves and the customer hires that big competitor that is of disservice to them? That's the customer's problem, but it's our fault. We didn't get noticed. If we get noticed and the customer buys from us, thank God we marketed, because now they're receiving the highest level of service.
Right.
And that's where this random act of kindness muscle starts translating into, oh my gosh, marketing actually is, I think, the greatest form of kindness, because you're making something important discoverable. Now, I'm not saying market aggressively to harm or manipulate people. Right. That I think is bad. Like, I'm not saying take someone from point A to buy from you to point C, which is of no value to them, and you're taking money out of their pocket. No. I'm saying take someone from point A to point B, which serves them, is of the greatest value to them. They just don't know the pathway to get there, or even fearful. Carry them in that path, and that's what your marketing should do.
Absolutely. I send probably a modified version of that message. I'm all about it. To me, I think it's your moral imperative to tell people about your product, your service, whatever it is.
Hallelujah, baby. Hallelujah.
It's a moral imperative, because there's somebody out there that needs what Mr. Mike has, right? Yeah. And if you don't tell them about it, well, then they go and get, like you said, an inferior. And who's to say maybe it's not inferior. It's just not exactly what they need. And man, you have exactly what they need. So you have to get out there and shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah, to give them the choice, to at least give them the choice, the awareness, so that they can make an educated decision. I have a friend who said, I'm very proud that we don't market at all. Very proud that the only business we get is through client referral. And I said, oh, that's a shame. I thought you liked people. And he's like, whoa, I love people. I said, if you love people, you would express that you're available to serve them. For you to wait for your customers to market for you is a sin. Now, listen, if your customers market for you, meaning they get word of mouth, they brag about your services, that is an acknowledgement that should be appreciated tremendously. But that is the icing on the cake. That means your client's doing marketing for you. And the day they decide to stop, you're not getting any more business. So appreciate that and facilitate that, but don't make that your source of marketing solely. You have to get out there and deliberately. If you really care for people, you're going to care that they notice you so they can make an educated decision.
Absolutely, 100%. This is fire. I love this stuff. My first real corporate career was inside of Coca-Cola. I worked there 12 years, and I was working in Coca-Cola marketing for North America. And they are a marketing engine, but it's very ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk.
Yeah.
And it was funny. They actually wanted to step out of the norm because they have a very structured way. 100-year-old company, right? People expect, they have this vision. It's really hard to break out of that. So when they wanted to break out with new marketing, they actually bought Barq's Root Beer way back when. It would have been back in the early 90s. And they decided, all right, this is where we get to exercise our marketing muscle. And they come up with some really cool commercials. And then when energy drinks started getting popular and Coke stepped into that arena, they were able to, because now they're going towards that younger crowd, not those, those folks that remember. And it was wild to watch the completely different types of marketing that was happening inside the same umbrella. But for obvious reasons, it was your crowd, right? We were marketing Sprite completely different because it was really all about Sprite was one of the anchor sodas in the NBA. So they had a very target market there. And then you had the old product, the flagship Coca-Cola, which again, like I was saying, that's that 100-year-old brand. You have to stay true to that vision. And then with the new things, like when Surge came out, you had kids. I remember this one commercial. They showed these kids in a hoopty, headed towards a dirt field. And anybody who's been a young man and driven any kind of car towards a dirt field, what's the first thing you do? Donuts. Right? Yeah, totally, and they're flying around the car. You see the car doing circles, and then they show the camera angle from the hood looking at the driver and the passenger. All of a sudden, right across the camera, the product comes flying by.
Oh, awesome.
As they going in a circle. Then they started doing it the other way, a figure eight. It slid back by again. And I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah. That's a form of immersive marketing where you build the context of something that's attractive. So that's an aspirational component. Like, oh, I want to be in that car doing donuts. It's something that you want to experience, you're engaged in it, and then you immerse a product within it. You see it in movies and stuff like that too, where the product is not the centerpiece, but it's part of it. And, but it also is kind of the hero. So the experience they're having is amazing. And, clearly they're celebrating it with, or they prepared for it with Surge. So it played a role in it so that we anchor that in our mind. At small businesses, when people hear about commercials like that, they're like, that's amazing. I can never afford a commercial. And I'm like, the goal is not to run a commercial. What we're going to do is we're going to do small experiments, and there's hundreds of platforms. Email is very popular right now, but you could do billboards, you could do print, you could do catalogs, you could do affiliate. You could foster some kind of party program like they did with Tupperware. But you could think of something radically new. So to give an example, I'm actively speaking. COVID's put a crunch in live performances, but I'm actually back on the road. I just returned and I'm heading out on Thursday. What I noticed on a recent flight, this is about 2 months ago, I turned my phone on before taking off, and I noticed all the hot spots or what do they call it, personal hubs or whatever for individuals. And one person had like the CIA as their code, and it was very funny. And then it's like, that's a marketing opportunity, because I looked down the plane and everyone's hopping on their phone. When I looked out in the terminal, everyone's on their phone. So what I did was I bought a Wi-Fi wireless access point. You can get them for like $25, small one that fits my backpack. And I put a battery on it, but the access point, it says buy, get different. My new book, Buy, Get Different, on Amazon. So I turned this on, and now when I'm at the airport, I just put my bag down and people turn on their phone to connect to the internet. They see the free, airport internet, but right below they see listed Buy, Get Different on Amazon for me. When I go do a keynote now, I'll go to the AV desk and say, hey, can I leave my bag here for the day? And they're like, yeah, no problem. And then I just let it sit there. And so as people walk into the conference, they're all hopping on their phones to get on the internet. They're seeing that wireless access point with my sales message. And I go on stage, I do my presentation. Tracy, people come up to me and they go, dude, you wouldn't believe this. This place is marketing your book. They say to Buy, Get Different. I'm like, oh no, that's me. That cost me $25 plus the battery, which I got for free as a gift. It's a phone charging battery.
Right.
We can do effective marketing at such low cost points and no cost points if we're willing to consider what can I do that my industry doesn't typically do.
Right.
It's available. There's so many ways to market yourself. It's not just commercials.
Oh, that's brilliant. And some folks are going to copy that. That's a brilliant idea. And I think
I hope some people copy that. I've been sharing that, Tracy. I've yet to have, not only sharing it for a few months, because I've only been doing it a few months. I'm surprised how many people have not copied it. Because I've talked to other authors. I'm like, listen, there's something I'm doing. People are noticing this. And they're like, oh, that sounds amazing. They don't do it. It's amazing to me how fear still sits there. It's like, well, what if the event host complains, or what if there's a problem? Just turn it off. But that fear then is backfilled with logic. It's better just, I don't buy it, or it's going to be kind of expensive. I don't know how to do it. And then they don't do it.
Yeah.
So I've been putting it out there, and no, people will copy it. But when you come up with something new, I've been consistently surprised how long it takes for someone to get a free bookshelf or to do wireless marketing. The early adopters seem to take a long time, and that's a huge advantage to me. I keep putting it out there. In the day that everyone else is doing it, it's become saturated. People habituate. It's no longer effective. So I have new experiments running constantly so that I can do the next thing once this old thing is burned out.
That's brilliant. I loved it. Mike's in here dropping bombs on us today. I'm totally digging this. It's funny is as you were talking about your tree behind you, and eventually people will pick it up and it'll become white noise again. Yeah. If I think back to my early rock and roll days, I'm a big rock and roll fan. My wife and daughter and we spend our summers, spring and summers, well, pre-COVID, obviously, attending concerts, as we did. That's how we traveled, right? And, obviously nowadays it's secondhand nature for the band to be up on the stage and their name be in big lights or some big tarp behind them.
Yep.
Now, when I was before a teenager, that wasn't the norm, right? At most, maybe they had it on the drum head. Right. That's right. Or it was right. I
remember CCR.
It was on
just on the drum. It's like,
right. Or some card standing off on an easel on the side.
Yeah.
And one of the bands is attributed for being the first ones to do this in big lights on stage, flashing, is Kiss, right? Who's
master marketers.
Whatever you think about them as a band, their marketing. I mean, these guys are geniuses. 40 years into it, 50 years into it almost, and they're doing their final tour. And they're everywhere. You see their marketing materials everywhere. It's thinking outside the box and just being brave enough to do it. Be yourself.
There's a technique you can use. I didn't write about KISS specifically, but there's a technique that they deployed that I do write about in the book, and I call it the EST technique, as in the superlative of a word when you add S to it. So you can be small or you can be the smallest. You can be fast or the fastest. Mm-hmm. What KISS did is because I remember reading some of their history, their makeup and so forth. They went to an extreme version of that with the costumes. They took metal and they really defined glam metal or glam rock.
Right.
And that was so noticeable that you can argue, their songs, even though Detroit Rock City is probably one of the most badass songs of all time, in my opinion.
Thank you.
You're welcome. While you can say, well, they're not nearly as sophisticated or talented as musicians as Led Zeppelin or someone else. They grabbed the est of being the craziest or most unique est presentation of themselves, and it became unforgettable. Other bands tried to replicate that, but it was too late. Kiss had already defined it. And so we all have this opportunity is look at our industry and say, how can we be an est? So, and I'd argue, exploit who you naturally are. So if you're a accountant, that's a pretty generic industry. There's a perception of, a stodgy guy with a visor taking notes and the glasses on the tip of their nose. Why not be the funniest accountant or the coolest accountant who only wears shades? Why not redefine it? And I'm not just picking on accountants. I'm just trying to think of industries that are kind of boring. And I was in one, the computer industry. Computer guys are boring. And that's how I started my career. I did okay. And then I got my ass kicked to Sunday by a company that had the guts to market differently. And it was Geek Squad. All they did was they took the KISS move and they said, instead of being rock stars, we're going to be geeks. Tape the glasses, pull up the pants to their flood pants. Yep. Narrow, tie. And now I got a geek. And they arguably were not better technically than I was. Probably I had superior certifications and capabilities, but they were noticeable. And people flocked to them. Ultimately, they sold to Best Buy. It's $1 billion valuation plus. My company didn't achieve that. We'll just
well, damn.
Yeah, well done.
Oh man. All right. So I want to make sure I want to give you some, man, we're just rolling here. I'm enjoying this conversation so much, but I want to give you a chance to plug your goods. I know you got the newest book and you talked about Profit First. If folks want to check out more of Mike Michalowicz, right.
Well, that's a doozy of a last name.
Yeah, right.
And we were talking off air, like, all of us can exploit that. Whenever you have a weakness, I call it the disadvantage advantage. What is a weakness? How do you leverage that? So on my website, if you go to my website, MikeMichalowicz.com, you'll see there's this, how to pronounce my name, but I make fun of my own name, making that disadvantage a fun experience, therefore an advantage. But here's the deal. No one can spell Mike Michalowicz. So I'm going to give you two ways to get information. One is go to MikeMotorbike.com. Nickname from high school. The irony, Tracy, is never owned a Harley, never ridden a bike. I have no interest in riding bikes, but because Mike and bike rhymed, I was Mike Motorbike for a short period of time. So I bought the domain, MikeMotorbike.com. And you'll see a fun surprise if you go there. All my books are there. Around marketing, though, I'll give you one other site to go to. It's called GoGetDifferent.com. So I've been studying now for 7 years marketing and put it in this book. The book's not released as of this recording, but it's going to be released September 21st of 2021. Go Get Different has tons of free resources available. So even if you don't get the book, I have now about, I think, 75 different ways to market yourself instantly that no one else is typically doing. It's radically different ideas. They're so simple to do and they cost nothing. So that resource and others are available at gogetdifferent.com.
Nice.
That's perfect.
Mike,
thank you.
I definitely appreciate your time. Any final thoughts you want, any words of wisdom you want to leave everybody with before we say goodbye?
Yeah, just the final thought would be go out and do. So, we hear things, but then they drift off and then we never get to it. In months and years pass. If you believe in your product or your service, you got to start selling, you got to start marketing. And I would just challenge you today. The one thing you can do is do that first random act of kindness. No logo, nothing, but just be of service to someone else and see how you feel. That's the feeling you'll get when you effectively market. And so we can start today.
Absolutely. Words of wisdom. We're going to leave it right there. All right. There you have it, my dark horse friends and family. Mike Michalowicz dropping dad-approved marketing bombs on us. What thoughts resonated with you? Here's a few that clicked with me right out of the gate. Thought number one, boil it down to the core. Mike started us off with what is probably one of the greatest pieces of advice anyone could give any business owner. Boil it down to its core essence. How often have we heard of, or we have started an adventure, a business, knowing or at least being aware of that core essence, right? Maybe we're standing in that field of clarity, and we start traveling along the path towards our vision or our dream, and we get pulled in this direction, we get pulled in that direction, we get waylaid by some shiny object or piece of software or promise of being able to reach our goal without any work involved. Yeah, we've heard those, right? Then all of a sudden, there we are. We're no longer in our field of clarity, but rather we're deep in the darkened woods of confusion. Now, if we would just stop, take a breath, and return yourself back to that field of clarity, back to where you knew what it was you wanted and how you can attain it and what work was going to be involved to attain it, you could and you can move yourself towards that goal, that dream, or that business. So stop, take a breath. Get back to your field of clarity now. Now, yeah, sure, you might have wasted some time and perhaps some resources along the way. But if you stop now, like right this very second, and regain that clarity you once had, you can stop from continuing to waste that time and those valuable resources. Plug that ship up, y'all. All right. Thought number 2, have dad approved marketing. Mike took us through his DAD acronym for marketing, that first D being for us to be different, to differentiate, right? Now here's where I'm going to remind you to be you. That's what I'm all about. There's not another person out there that is like you. That way it's far easier for you to be different because you are different. By being different, you're going to be able to get through that resistance that other people might have, at least long enough to determine whether or not they want to continue to listen to you, right? So be you. And in being you, be different and make good use of that valuable listening time that affords you that amazing opportunity to be in front or be in the ears of your potential audience and prospect. Okay. So now that you're different, now you have to be compelling, or the A. You have to attract them. Now, usually you attract them by providing some value in exchange for the time that they're going to invest in consuming your content, whether that content is an email, a social post, a webinar, a product, or whatever. And then finally, that last D, give them some direction. Now, mind you, that direction has to be in line with where they are at in their journey with you. Because you don't want to jump from a cold traffic, that cold, I don't know you traffic to, hey, spend $19.97. And I mean $1,997 now, right? That wouldn't be a reasonable request. Or as Mike said, it wouldn't be safe. So what you'll want to do is you want to give them that safe and reasonable direction to take once you have been different and you have attracted them to consume your content and give them that value. Now direct them to what is logically next. Now, thought number 3, align with your audience. And perhaps this thought should be more align your content with your audience. Mike was responding to my question, my query about the viability of reports today versus videos. And his response was very insightful and wise. The man has wisdom. Thank you, Yoda. Basically, it depends on who you're trying to serve, right? Because if you're trying to serve an audience that is more willing to take the time to read through a report, i.e. an older crowd like myself who grew up reading more than consuming videos, then perhaps your report would be better suited. However, if you're dealing with a younger or more technically aligned crowd, perhaps a video is best suited given that they grew up with social media and that quicker consumption of content via video. In the end, the only way you're going to find out is to try and test both. Now, here's the thing. Even if you think your current version is working well, I would still urge you to test the other version. Because here's the thing, if it works, then bam, you have a whole new higher baseline for success and an increased stream of prospects into your pipeline. And if it doesn't work, well, at least now you know for sure and you can stop wondering. Thought number 4, random acts of kindness. Mike reminded us that we can build our be different muscle by doing random acts of kindness. You know, those simple things in life like paying for a coffee order of the person in line behind you at the coffee house drive-thru, holding open a door for a stranger, sending a thank you card or note to a fellow employee without signing your name, just to let them know what a great job they did or are doing. While all of these seem like everyday things, nowadays they really aren't. So you're practicing being different by being kind. Plus, not only are you building your be different muscle, you're also building up your karma account into a highly positive position. And we all know what comes around goes around, right? So if you create the habit of such acts of kindness, I find that these will be returned to you by karma in tenfold. That's pretty cool. All right, so what inspiring ideas, tips, or thoughts resonated with you? Whatever they are, take some time as soon as you can. Right now would be a good time, right? Yeah, right? But as soon as you're able to, and write them down so you don't forget them, right? And then go out there, run your race, get your results, and let me hear about them. That's right. Email me at tracy@darkhorseschooling.com. Share the tips or ideas that you came away with, how you put them into action, and what results you gained from them. Heck, you never know. Might just bring you on the show so you could share your business and your successes. Heck, even share how you got over your stumbling blocks. All right. Now, in our next interview episode, our guest is going to be Jay David. I believe it's actually John J. David. Jay was the drummer from Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show. My tongue tripped over my eye teeth. I couldn't see what I was saying. And Jay has some valuable lessons that we can all learn from his time in the music industry. Now, I know you want to keep getting these valuable tips and awesome stories from the guests I'm lucky enough to bring on here. So please go on down there, hit that subscribe button. While you're there, leave us a 5-star rating and some kind words in the reviews. Heck, ask a question. I read every single one of those reviews. And of course, do not keep all this entrepreneurial GOLD all to yourself. Share this podcast with other entrepreneurs and business owners that you know will get value from it. So with that, I'm going to leave you as I always do. Think successfully and take action.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in.
Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
All right.
My name is Tracy Brinkman.